Guys, if you don't know who Andy Muschietti is, he was the director of The Flash. He is also the upcoming director of the Batman Brave and the Bold film, which has, of course, been delayed. And he was asked recently, why the heck did that Flash movie fail? Was it the DCEU was already in shambles? Was it the fact that Ezra Miller was living a life like a episode of America's Most Wanted? He says, no, it was women. It was their fault.
Well, okay, he didn't sit there and say the Flash bombed at the box office because women suck or something. But here was their explanation for it. The Flash had a budget of $200 million. It grossed $271 million by the end of its run in the box office, meaning Warner Brothers lost, let's just say, over $100 million on it.
Way more than that.
Way more than that, but let's just say conservatively, they lost over $100 million on this.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people at the time blamed this on Ezra Miller's scandalous tabloid behaviors. I don't think that had anything to do with it.
I don't either. Normal people don't know who he is.
Yeah, I don't know why they're asking him about this like 2 years later, but here was Muschietti's response. He said the reason The Flash couldn't recoup its cost was because it failed to hit all 4 quadrants of moviegoer demographics, referring to men over 25, men under 25, women over 25, and women under 25, despite Warner Brothers' best efforts. He said The Flash failed among all the other reasons because it wasn't a movie that appealed to all 4 quadrants. It failed at that. When you spend $200 million making a movie, Warner Brothers wants to bring even your grandmother to the theaters. And he said that behind closed doors, he found people don't care about The Flash as much as other beloved DC icons like Batman or Superman. And this is especially true in the women under and over 25 demographics. He said, I found in private conversations that a lot of people just don't care about The Flash as a character, particularly the female quadrants. All of that is just the wind going against the film, I've learned.
He's what's the word? He's wrong. That's the word for it. So the Flash television show, which ran on the CW, which heavily leans female, at least more so than a lot of other demographics. It's the Flash superhero shows, not majority, but more so than any other superhero demographic, leaned into shipping and female themes and stuff like that. Went for 9 seasons.
Appeals to the Tumblrites.
Yes. Okay. So it went for 9 seasons, and lo and behold, a big portion of the discussion leading up to the release of The Flash was whether they should replace Ezra Miller with Grant Gustin, who played The Flash in the television show. If they can get that show to go for 9 seasons, I don't believe for a second that you can't make a movie that appeals to both men and women. Also, he's falling back on it's really weird. It's like an Uno reverse card. This is usually the men who get blamed. It's when they make a movie that's about female empowerment and they say, we don't want men to go watch this movie. And then when men don't go watch the movie, they say, why didn't you go watch the movie?
Well, The Flash is actually a story about non-binary they-them empowerment.
Yeah.
Because it's representation of the non-binary transgender community.
And I actually enjoyed the Flash movie, at least more so than most people did. I enjoyed it. In fact,
it's all a blur to me now.
It is. And I said that Ezra Miller was the best part of that film. I think that he actually has acting chops. I just wouldn't want to be in a room alone with him, or have daughters that were in a room alone with him in any way, shape, or form.
Definitely not. He starts throwing chairs and...
So here's the other thing. The DCEU was already failing. Failure after failure after failure. James Gunn had already been hired to revamp and change the DCU 6 months prior, in October of 2022, before this movie even came out. James Gunn was... So everybody already knew that this movie didn't matter, just the way that they knew that Aquaman 2 didn't matter. Right?
Yeah.
Or Shazam 2 didn't matter. None of these movies, after James Gunn got hired, were going to actually have a reason to be seen in theaters, where you have to spend a lot of money to get a movie ticket. They knew that eventually they would start from scratch and they were going to get Superman in 2025. So, no, it didn't have anything to do with women. Your movie it was some of the worst CGI ever put to screen, and then they had the absolute temerity to try and say that it was that way intentionally. Do you remember that? When they're like, yeah, it was supposed to be bad.
It's like a meta thing.
Yeah, it was like the CGI was supposed to be bad. You wasted Michael Keaton when you did this.
They noted here in this IGN report that Andy Muschietti neglects mention all of the other reasons he's referring to for The Flash's failure, meaning poor critical reception, criticism of its over-reliance on CGI.
It's got nothing to do with its over-reliance. It was just that the CGI was bad.
And that it was bad. Yeah. Including to recreate deceased actors without consulting their family members.
The Reeves family, right?
Yeah, its placement towards the end of a now defunct film universe, thanks to James Gunn as well.
Blue Beetle also
and just countless delays because of, in part, Ezra Miller's behavior, reshoots that were going up until the last minute. I don't think any normal people in the theater-going demographic pay any attention to Ezra Miller's personal life. No. So you can't scapegoat him for this.
No, I mean, a lot of people are going to say that it's his fault. I don't buy that. Like, there may be a segment of the YouTube watching sphere that will use that as a reason to not go see a movie, and perfectly fine. Like, again, I'm never going to use that as a reason to stop me from going to see a movie, but I get why people do. But that's not a huge sect of the audience. The normies don't know who Ezra Miller is. They just know that there's a movie about the Flash coming out, and they're saying, but the Justice League bombed, and nobody's cared about any of these other movies that came out recently. Why should we go see this?
But why is this such a recurring problem? So this director lost Warner Brothers, let's just say $200 million, at least, just to be safe. And he's directing one of their next biggest movies? Why?
Okay, so Midnight's Edge already said that they think that he's going to get the boot, and that like the reason the movie's delayed is because they're going to quietly make changes to it. I can believe that now. The film is like, if we're talking like Deadpool and Wolverine, and a director like Sean Levy, who's done incredible work and seems to grow with each movie that he does, you understand why they continue to get work. But right now, failing upwards is like the name of the game in Hollywood.
Right. And I still don't understand it. Is it just people preserving friendships over making money?
I wonder if it has more to do with, like, look, back in the day when stuff was released on television, you kind of you could play the wait and see game on how things did. And I know this doesn't tie in directly to movies, but when you were on a television show, right, you could become a more well-known actor on the show and get more screen time if the audience really responded to you. And likewise, a really, really good director or writer that works with the series can get more work if those episodes are more widely received. But if we're talking streaming, a director, an actor, maybe they're already hired for that next role even before that one comes out. Mm-hmm. Right? Just like they're like, oh, we've approved seasons 2 and 3 of this show even before it came out.
Right.
And stuff like that. I wonder if it has something to do with that. It could be maybe before this that he just wasn't annoying. Like there's a big conversation about, do you want to hire an extremely hard to work with director who's very, very good at his job but is very, very annoying? Or do you want to hire one that makes an okay movie but is pleasant to work with?
Usually the very annoying directors that they're referring to in that context would not agree to direct something that's part of a larger IP or franchise.
Well, those
like
are bigger
Flash.
directors, yeah, that have got more.
Like, what are we going to do? Hire Robert Eggers to direct the next Batman movie? Like,
I
that's just not.
guarantee you there will be at least one of, like, you know, like the clickbait Twitter accounts that are like, there's this movie in the works, and then there's just no information on what that means. Like, there will be one, like, it will be something like, Robert Eggers in talks to direct Moon Knight movie, and everybody's like, oh, that's perfect, that's great, but then there will never be any follow-up.
It's because someone told the Hollywood Reporter.
Look, the Flash is a very, very popular character. I don't care what anybody tells you, the Flash is a very, very popular character, up there with Superman and Batman. And it's very recognizable, not just to normies who are more recognizable with the character now because of 9 seasons of the Flash, but remember there was also a John Wesley Shipp Flash show back in the 90s. The character's been around for ages. There's no reason to believe that the character itself was the problem here. This is a bigger problem within Hollywood where they look inward. my friend, maybe the movie you made was just dog shit to everybody else. I liked it,
Well, and
but I like bad movies a lot of the time. What can I say?
Maybe James Gunn should not have been publicly signaling to everyone before this movie even came out that nothing that happens in it matters.
Yeah.
And it's all going to go down the garbage disposal in a month's time.
And the best way to fight against that type of failure for a movie is to have strong word of mouth. And when I'm the only one telling everybody the movie was good, it's very hard for...
Not a good look.
Not even good. I'm saying, like, I'm not saying the movie was good. I'm saying that I enjoyed it because I thought that...
Yeah, that almost means the opposite.
That Ezra Miller gave did a pretty good job at getting a good evocative emotional performance out of a silly movie with the scenes with his mom.
I felt nothing. Just for the
way it
record.
is.
Yeah.
Make of that what you will, but I will white knight for the ladies this time around, even though they won't white knight for us every time men get blamed for the movies. For the movies and television shows failure. You know, you tell me I'm bad for not going to see Charlie's Angels 2019, but I'm going to stand up for you and say it's not your fault that The Flash failed. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.